Do you all remember this video? Yeah, it was a little while ago. A lot of you may not have seen it. Well, I never actually beat Alpha at the end of this video. Unfortunately, with my work schedule and the time I had to play the game, I actually ran out of time that week. So, anyway, it's taken me all the way until now to revisit this. And boy, do I have something crazy to show you. As some of you may remember from my original video, it certainly caused a lot of debate and a little bit of drama. Some people got a bit too triggered by the memes, and just the fact that Lotus could actually be useful if you built her. Is it a good investment? No, I thought I made that pretty clear at the end of the video. All the hard work's done, and you can spend your time enjoying your Lotus, and definitely not regretting any of your decisions and all the resources and time spent into this Lotus build. But apparently that went over some people's head. However, we're back again, and this time we're going to do it right. Now, I actually wanted to have a look and see how low the investment you need for Lotus to be able to pull this off. Now, as far as I can tell, I don't believe you actually need her 6-star weapon. If you have Lotus with her 5-star weapon and fully resonated, that should be more than sufficient. Now, just to be clear, obviously you wouldn't be able to get the full score, but you'd maybe be missing a couple hundred points. So, even though I knew I could beat that score because I had just run out of time, I went back to the drawing board because I was like, you know what, it was a little too maldy. You know I hate meld. Back to the drawing board, and we had a look at memories. We ended up going back to my original plan, which was Hannah, and this just makes the meld a lot less because you're reliant on less orbs. And when a less than perfect combo comes up, usually you can get by just fine. Unless it's all yellow. Because this game hates you sometimes and it's just all yellow. Now, I came across this absolutely fantastic run. I just had to share it with you all. Yep, that's right. Lotus OP. Filthy broken. Please nerf. Now let's take a look at that again in slow motion and see what's really happening. Now this is very similar to my original run, except this run, you just go straight to red 3 ping and instantly press it as soon as the match starts. And as you can see, Ronald's health is already half deleted. By the time you hit the second ping after you call in your QTE, he's done. I think we can say for certain, unless somebody wants to submit an alpha run, that Lotus can now beat alpha in advanced pain cage against Hell Mode Ronald. This is what happens when you have fun and you just enjoy the game and stop caring about meta. Look at all the crazy things that are possible. Now I'm told that the credit for the idea for this run goes to the channel that's currently displayed on the screen, and I've also included a link in the description. I do have to say, I have unfortunately been unsuccessful in replicating this run ever since Ronald changed when he got his beautiful makeover, and now it seems like his spawn position may have changed a bit as well, just a bit further back. Unfortunately, I just could not get that first red to hit. That means that this is no longer possible, which is quite sad. However, I think we should archive this, as it was once a beautiful thing that you certainly could do. As for my run, well... You see my original alpha score from the original video here, which I honestly couldn't be bothered to do again because that's the peak of where my alpha is. Now, sure, if you have a triple S alpha and you want to try dodge canceling and all the rest of it, maybe you can score higher. Mine cannot score higher. It's that simple. So for my account, my Lotus can and does beat my alpha in this specific game mode. Does this mean I use Lotus everywhere? No. Does it mean that I can have fun in Pain Cage and I have more variety in my game? Yeah. I get to use a character that I enjoy playing. I enjoy burst damage, so as long as Lotus is actually doing that burst damage, then we're all good. This is simply a case of, let's just say the boss hypothetically has 100,000 health, and let's say that Lotus can deal 100,000 damage. It doesn't matter if Alpha can deal 300,000 damage. as long as Lotus does that 100,000 damage quicker, Lotus is gonna win. And that's all that matters with Advanced Pain Cage. Of course, if you wanted to play Ultimate Pain Cage, things would be a bit different, as both Alpha and Lotus would run out of damage, and you'd be in for a lot longer of a fight. And I'm sure Alpha would manage to outdamage Lotus at that point. However, I haven't tested, so you'd have to test for yourself. I don't know how much the difference would be either. Now, I noticed when I put the original video out, people weren't quite sure how I accomplished the Lotus run, and a lot of people were confused at why I was using 2 tanks. The key to this run is to maximize the call-in QTE window, and that is the reason why I used 2 of the tanks, because they both have longer QTEs, whereas Liv kind of just comes in and then she's gone too soon. The main thing you're using here is stacking all the damage buffs, but the key one is when all 3 characters are on the field. That is the time where you have the limited window of absurd damage. This is when you can lay down unreal amounts of damage that would never be possible otherwise. This takes Ronald's HP bar from 30 to 0 in seconds, and without this, it would easily be at 15, maybe 20 HP. So the main thing that matters is getting both QTEs called in with usually a yellow or a blue. Really doesn't matter. Blue's going to deal more damage since you can't flip Ronald up into the air, meaning that Lotus now misses out on 20% damage. Shortly after, once you've called both of them in, the second they both hit Ronald and all the buffs and debuffs are applied, that is when you want to use triple red ping at least twice. If you've got 3, fantastic, because now we have Hannah, but you don't need 3. That's just a bit extra mild if you want to see how high you can achieve. I'm pretty damn confident you could achieve a 196 score if you melded enough, but 195 in my server is more than enough for 1% PPC reward, and that's all I care about. So I get to have fun using the character I like and get the rewards I need. After you're done with your 2 red 3 pings, the next thing you need to do is just attack. Her core passive will be active, and that will be her second best source of damage, and should shred whatever remaining HP Ronald has left. The key for this is to get it to a point where either the first or second swing of her core kills Ronald, because there's an awkward phase where she takes a bit of a gap after the second swing, and that third swing, that time there is like half a second, and it just takes too long, and that really drops your score. So as long as you do those 2 red pings, and you get the correct amount of damage, then you can go straight to your core passive, and you're all good. That's it. Ronald's dead. He's deleted. Everyone's happy. While my Lotus has since had some upgrades, and I'm absolutely sure I can beat these scores and get much higher scores on these stages, I did actually do, I think, all of the Advanced Pain Cage bosses on Hell mode, so that you can all see. Maybe I missed 1 or 2, but you can all see how Lotus fares in Advanced PPC Hell stages for all the stages. Some of these scores, of course, are not going to be as high as others because they're special elements like Lightning Zone or whatever the case may be. But you can see in general, she's getting pretty high scores, almost top 1%. And if nothing else, it's at least going to get you into the top 1 to 5%, which is second best place. Now, if I were to build my own Lotus again, I would actually start with the memories. I would definitely use the Hannah build, since there's no notable damage difference that I can discern. I would then go to her 5-star weapon, fully leveled up and resonated, since it's free, and I would see what the results were there. And then you can see from my results where you can achieve with a peak maxed out Lotus. So if the results are close enough for you and you're happy, let's just say instead of my 1957 score, you're getting 1951. and that is all you need, then that's all good. Now you have a free-to-play Lotus that absolutely kicks ass. If you find that your score is a little low and you're like, nah, I want to get into the 1%, then I would go first with the Resonance, and Red Orb is going to be the most important one here. All 6 Red Orb, and then the next source of damage for Lotus is Core. That's definitely the one for me. I believe meta is technically Core and 15 attack and crit for the Resonance. However, from my playtesting, this works a lot better because your Core will stack a lot higher than a 90 attack increase, which you're not going to notice. And I guarantee those crits are not going to make a notable difference either. You know, it does make a notable difference, having like an extra 500% damage on your Core. So for those wondering, that's why I made that decision. And after testing many times in the training room and checking damage numbers, these are the stats that work best as far as I'm concerned. If you've done that, the next step would be to hypertune bottom row, because you want attack. I mean, if you really want, and you want to go all in on Lotus, then maybe you can do the top row. But I would actually check her 6-star weapon out at this point, probably before top row of hypertune, if anything. Just pull her signature weapon once and see how you go with that. That should significantly increase the damage, as both her Red Orb and her Core hit multiple hits per second, so the damage should skyrocket from that. Then if you wanted to hypertune top row, then I suppose you could do that and just hope that you get some extra crit from it. And then the only thing left after that would be if you wanted to resonate her weapon. Now, you don't need extra orbs, especially not for PPC, but you can get some extra damage boost here. So for her weapon resonance, which can actually now be gotten for free from Norman, whereas when I originally recorded the original video, that wasn't a thing, and you had to pay for extra resonance, I would recommend Glorious Afterglow first, because 30% damage for a 3-ping is just disgusting, and it resets every time you trigger a 3-ping, so pretty much every single time you do her Core, you're guaranteed to have an extra 30% damage for 8 seconds. Plus, hopefully you're doing a red 3-ping, in which case you're also getting 30% damage on that. Now, the next one, I would actually toss up between... It depends what game modes you're playing. If this is just for PPC, then probably just get the weapon's final attack up 15%. And the last one would be Matrix Lightning, which is an extra 10% as long as you're in Matrix, which in PPC you should be. Especially with the Hannah build. I can tell you that movement speed is actually very helpful if you're doing more long form content. If you saw my mouse only versus Ronald run, that was very useful there, and I would have got hit a few more times if I didn't have it. Also for other game modes like Babel and that sort of thing. But you gotta really ask yourself, are you actually gonna take Lotus into Babel when Fire Lives 3-ping can do the same amount of damage as a full Lotus rotation, which, while sad, it just makes her very unusable. You can absolutely use her, and I've seen people do really sick, like close to max runs with Lotus in past Babels, but man, the effort just goes up so high because your damage output is just like a quarter of the S ranks, especially with Gen 2 coming in. The damage is just not there, sadly. It's almost like on any endgame stages, they're like, if it's an A or B rank, they get their damage nerfed by like 80%. It's crazy. I'd say someone should go through the game code and check that, but nobody reads in global, so that ain't gonna happen. Now, as for the 2 set of memories that you're gonna use, you have 2 choices. You can either go with Frederick or you can choose Darwin. It really doesn't matter. It's the same, it's just achieved in different ways. Now, the reason I pick Frederick over Darwin is, again, that movement speed, and especially if you have that plus the Matrix one from the weapon resonance, and now you're zooming. If you're still here, don't forget to subscribe and enjoy your new Lotus.